Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges, and subscribe to us everywhere on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, everywhere.
You know, and maybe we'll just make like a mail newsletter. Like, we'll all send you letters because we know we have very good success with mail.
Real mail.
Real mail.
And we're back to contested round, so make sure you're brushed up on the criteria. Go read it.
Yeah, that's a cool thing to do. All the cool kids are doing it. Dan, we are finally back in each other's presence for the first time in just about a month.
Yeah, we're back in the saddle again.
You're back in the New York groove, except we're in Jersey.
Yeah, that's a good song, too.
It's not bad. It'd be better if it was about Jersey. Everything's better when it's about Jersey. Speaking of Jersey, Jim Miller.
Oh, my God.
Did you hear about him?
What?
He's from New Jersey.
What a fantastic performance. There might be one of his best.
He looked very good. Absolutely.
He was on fire. He handled the south. He doesn't fight many southpaws. He fought one like it was nothing. Cranked his face off.
He did. And he was on his way to win, clearly, easily winning that fight anyway.
He was on my card, he was up 20-15 going into the third round. 8 in the first, 7 in the second. And on his way to another 7 in the third.
No, I think most people had it that way. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's the one that makes the most sense.
So, I mean, total domination there.
You know, I wonder how many times he's actually gotten a third round finish, because he's, as we know, Jim is kind of the, blow the gas tank early kind of deal, you know?
Can't help himself. He said that on the post fight. He said, ever since I've been 4 years old, and he goes, it probably hurt my development because I wanted to, finish as fast as possible. So he never really had a chance to, experiment with things because he just wanted to get it done as fast as possible.
So I just quick looked it up. This is Jim Miller's first third round finish in almost 13 years. The last one, do you have any idea who it might have been?
The one that he won?
Well, yeah.
Or one that he was cheated out of?
No. He won.
Oh, okay. Shalarus, was that 13 years ago?
Shalarus.
Yeah.
Very good.
I was there for that. Mike Constantino, the next day, he was like, oh, he is so coachable. I love it.
I was there too. I was close to you though.
Yeah, you were a lot.
You could see me in the screen. It's kind of fun.
Flying knee to the face.
Yeah. That is the last time. And you think, 13 years, but that's like, well, that's just like a slice of his career because he's been fighting for 10,000 years. 19 actually, or technically this will be the 19th or 20th year. Obviously Jim is the heart of the conversation in Dan's mind, but before we even get into kind of the meat and potatoes of, there's not really that much we're really gonna be talking about off of the Vegas Apex return to UFC's schedule, 1st of 2024. There was, I caught wind of some interesting judging related stuff that happened this past week. There was 10-8 training.
I love it.
In Nevada. Commission put it together, as I understand it. They looked at some recent rounds. And, this is the type of thing that judges will do, very frequently. We know about the California calls. Media gets invited to those. They're very large. I've been able to attend a couple of the EMMAA cards, or as I like to call it, MA cards, or not cards, calls as well, going over some rounds with the judges over in the UK. But this is this, as I understand, is a much more exclusive one. It is purely for like a handful, like a select number of judges that we'll talk about. My assumption is judges who are licensed in Nevada. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Don't know how many, but they went over 3 rounds, and I was given the rounds. They were Song Gutierrez, round 5. Remember from just last year, the end of last year. Again, all these were really at the end of last year.
Very recent.
Tate Avila, round 1, which, Dan, we almost put in our wrongly scored episode.
Yeah, I think that.
Because that was a split as I think there was one judge who was off on the 8-9, right? Someone gave that one a 9. That was Chris Lee, actually. I had that one, yeah. And then the third one, and this surprised me, actually, when I caught one of this. Paddy Pimblett versus Tony Ferguson, round 1. Which, I mean, we brought this up on the show when it happened. This was the final event of 2023, the UFC anyway. That was a unanimous 10-9.
Yeah.
And you and I both thought that was an 8.
Yep.
And it turns out, don't have every detail on this, but my understanding is the more or less the consensus was that all 3 of these rounds ought to be scored an 8.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting.
It is.
I went back and just kind of watched these before this episode just to kind of refresh myself, right? It wasn't that long ago, but either way, we watched a lot of these rounds, right? And you and I had disagreed on Song Gutierrez round 5.
Mm-hmm.
The judges were split on that one too. I had it as a 9. You had it as an 8. It was Sal D'Amato was the one who gave it an 8. The 9 was the dominant score from judges Junichiro Kamijo and Ron McCarthy. So, I mean, don't have every detail, but it seems the consensus was that, yes, this was also meant to be an 8.
What put it over for an 8 for me was Gutierrez. Gutierrez did nothing.
Yeah.
That's really how I crossed the threshold. Because he did do good damage, and normally I would have wanted more if there was something coming back to him. But Gutierrez just didn't have anything. So
he didn't earn the 9. Is kind of what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. I think it seems though that in Nevada, what they're really pushing is the damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're almost 3 years in now. This is, it almost feels silly to keep referencing Jan Izzy because at this point it's basically just like, well, this is the way it's been for almost 3 full years, right? But in that time, they've really pushed like, oh, we got to have the damage there, the big high damage. And look, Song is cracking him, but it's kind of just like, I don't want to say here and there, but he's kind of picking his moments to throw those big elbows that are cracking Gutierrez.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not like a moment where he like really unloads. And I don't know that there's like a big moment where you're like, ooh, damage is getting big, but it's good damage. Like I'm not sitting there saying like, oh, like I like that that judges are watching this and saying, oh, we like this as an 8. But I guess I just get confused at why this one is the one that gets over as opposed to some other rounds. But I mean, all 3 rounds we're talking about here, apparently the consensus was, yeah, that's an 8. So I like to see it.
Yeah.
Hopefully this type of call that they have just gets everybody, reset and on the same page going into a new year. And maybe the 8s and 9s, they all get on the same page a little better when they're in Vegas.
Hopefully.
That would be nice because there's just so many UFC events in Vegas. But yeah, so we'll see. And especially Pimblett Ferguson. Nice to hear that upon further review, they'd like to see that one be 8s next time too.
Yeah.
Because that I thought was, I mean, Tate Avila, that's of these 3, this is the one that's like, well, this really needs to be an 8. This is supposed to be an 8.
Yeah.
I sort of get how you can not quite get there with Pimblett Ferguson. I still think it's very plain to see personally, but it's a pretty close round up until the very end, like the final minute-ish, and then it becomes pretty lopsided in that minute. But I think you can win it. You can get a round going from a 9 to an 8 in that time with what happened.
They're filming Fast and the Furious outside.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Good deal.
That's why it's...
I wonder if that'll come across on the audio. There was a motorcycle revving up, racing down the street here, apparently. Do you have anything to add about that? Like, I don't have insane details about this, but it was just nice to get the update.
I think, yeah, good on them for, actually getting together and trying to get everyone's compass in order, what we're actually looking for. And with back to the Tony fight, I thought the damage got really high in that final minute.
Sure.
Which is, I kind of think that would be an 8.
I mean, I can only assume that the 3 judges who were on that one, because that was in Nevada, Derek Cleary, Sal D'Amato, Junichiro Kamijo, I would have to think they were on this call too. Mm-hmm. And if the majority score still ended up being an 8 here, maybe with further review, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, it's just nice to see. And you definitely want the high volume judges to be on the same page with these 8s and 9s, because then it can really start setting the tone for the fighters and the coaches that can really understand, okay, we see this as an 8. You're scoring this as an 8. So next time when we go out and we put out something similar to that, we want to see an 8. And hopefully they can provide that when earned and appropriate, right? No 2 rounds are alike, of course. But anyway, that's all I really had about the training session there. Why don't we shift back over to that Apex card from Saturday?
Yep.
And obviously, we got the lead with your guy, Jim Miller, and we can circle back to him in a moment. But let's go over to the main event winner, the biggest fight of the evening in terms of headlining, right? Magomed Ankalaev getting the win over Johnny Walker, finishing what kind of ended distastefully last time with the illegal knee from Ankalaev, which realistically probably could give that a DQ if they felt like it. But if it wasn't for the fact that the doctor did stop it, but either way, they can actually give it a DQ there instead of a no contest. It is what it is. They did a no contest. Here we are. We got the rematch, and Ankalaev, after a close round, goes out in round 2 and just smashes the face in of Johnny Walker. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah, that was
Is a giant win for him. Where does he fit in the light heavyweight title picture now?
Yeah, give him the shot now.
Give him the shot.
Yeah.
When you say now, are you thinking like UFC 300?
Yeah, that's when Pereira wants to fight, right?
Yeah, I would think so. I imagine they're going to want him there.
I mean, if he's not going up to get the third belt, then yeah.
And it doesn't sound
next.
like Jamal Hill's going to be ready. So it's like you can't just keep holding it up just because that's the fight we want to make, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely not rematching with Yuri.
No.
So-
Well, Yuri is fighting Alexander Rakic.
Okay.
I believe also at 300.
I thought Jan and Rakic. Oh, they were supposed to be on this card coming up, and Jan got hurt. Okay, so that makes sense.
Something along those lines. But they had already fought too. So
Yeah. All right.
but yeah, no, that's what the new one is. Prohaska and
Okay.
Rakic.
All right.
So yeah, I mean, it totally frees it up. I think there's no reason you couldn't. Not that you wouldn't do Prohaska anyway. That just wouldn't make sense. To
Yeah,
rematch
that's what I'm
with that
saying.
one.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, it really, if Jamal Hill is not ready, Ankalaev has to be it. But the question is, do they wait for Hill or do they just make the fight?
Just make the fight. Stop waiting for things.
I think so too. If they don't, then let's devil's avocado here
Okay.
to quote 30 Rock. Have you watched 30 Rock, by the way?
Maybe like while I'm falling asleep.
Oh, you should
if
fix
it's on
that.
in the background.
No, you should fix that. You should watch more. But anyway, if we're not going to have Ankalaev being the next, right? Let's say Jamal Hill's able to be ready. What do you do with him? Does he wait or does he get another fight in? And who against?
Who's he gonna fight? That's gonna do anything for him? Because he's next regardless. Even if Jamal Hill goes first,
Sure.
it's Ankalaev next.
Sure.
I mean, Khalil Roundtree would love that opportunity, but Ankalaev wouldn't take that. It'd be stupid of him to do.
Well, I'm going to give you a hypothetical here. Let's say Ankalaev says, I'm going to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Hill fights Alex Pereira.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Hill wins. Let's say Prohaska wins his fight.
Yeah, then you get
Impressive. Then he might get skipped again.
Well, I think then you put those two against each other.
Which two?
Prohaska and Ankalaev.
Okay.
You think Pereira won't get an immediate rematch? I think you would.
I don't necessarily think that, no.
I do think you would.
Yeah, agree to disagree. But yeah, obviously he's got to be right there. It certainly makes a lot of sense, and I do feel like that's probably what really will happen is we're going to see Ankalaev against Poatan.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Jim Miller.
Yep.
Got another question for you.
Yep.
Pretend for a second
Yep.
that Islam Makhachev is just too scared to fight Jim Miller
I would
at
be.
UFC 300. I mean, it makes total sense, of course, obviously.
Mhm.
I understand that, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Danny, the question we have now is of the fights that the UFC would be most likely to make, the logical opponents that the UFC sees for Jim Miller, who should he fight at UFC 300?
Justin Gaethje.
They're not going to make that.
Oh, that's who he should fight. It'd be a great fight.
I worded my question so carefully.
I mean, Michael Chandler would be a fantastic fight with Jim Miller.
Honestly, I don't hate that one at all, but yeah, I don't know that they would do that either because let's face it, Michael Chandler is basically just staking his whole entire remaining career on whenever he's ever potentially going to fight Conor McGregor.
I mean, it could be Paul Felder.
Yeah, I mean it probably will end up just being one of the guys he named, right? Paul Felder, or maybe I like the Matt Brown idea.
I'm not too big a fan of that. I'd rather the Brock Lesnar match.
Well, Brock's scared. We know that he doesn't like to get hit.
I mean, if he mounts Felder and he just starts punching him, he's like, learn the criteria every single shot he lands with.
I don't think he's
Would be
going to say that.
solid.
I don't think he's going to say that.
But I'm gonna think it.
Oh, okay, that's fair. You can
Yeah.
have that. You don't like the Matt Brown thing.
I mean, I don't want to go up to 170. I mean,
I'll tell you why.
you don't gotta cut weight.
He has said so often how much he would love to fight at 170 and not cut weight.
I know that's great for him. Matt Brown's still a big guy
Yeah.
who's still knocking dudes out.
Why are you so worried?
And
about it?
I'm
You
not-
want him to fight Brock.
I'm not. He would kill Brock. Number one. 50-50 is wrong from Anthony Smith. It's 100-0. Brock Lesnar has no chance against Jim Miller.
So when are you hanging out with Lionheart Smith now? Are you guys like buddies now?
He's earning his way back in. Where was I going with that?
Couldn't tell you.
Oh, I don't like the Matt Brown fight because Jim's not going to shoot on him. He's going to bang it out, and that's worrisome.
Could be fun though.
Yeah, it could be fun.
But if he wins that, obviously it's a springboard to fighting Leon Edwards, right? Had you not
If
thought
you
about
don't-
that?
I didn't think about that.
There you go.
At some point, he has to have a title shot.
It would be a
No matter
shame if
what
he never got
division.
one, but obviously we can logically
He
see
got
where
he
things
got
have gone.
snubbed so bad when he was on that run in a time when you didn't have to win that many in a row to get a title shot.
You're not wrong.
And the guy fought with mono. He could have easily just pulled out of that fight.
It's not how he does things.
But that's not how he does things because he's Jim effing Miller.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that.
That is that. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the Matt Brown idea. I really don't. I actually don't even love the Paul Felder thing. I mean, it would be a fun fight. Like, I'm not saying it wouldn't be fun, but I don't know. There's so many opponents they could give it. I also don't love that they just say, "Oh, let's put him against Gilbert Benitez or Gabriel Benitez." Excuse me. There's just so many matchups that make more sense from like a fun factor thing. Like, why we don't do stuff like that? Obviously, he looked really good here, so it was a fun showcase. But...
They on the after show they brought up rematch with Chiesa.
Isn't Chiesa like semi-retired? And he's also he's like bigger than Matt Brown.
Yeah, he's 70 now.
I think he's kind of retired also, though.
I think Dean Thomas said he wanted that fight because... one of them. I think Joe Ban said he wanted that fight because it could be a good fight for Chiesa to get back in the right direction. Like, what are we just handing people, trying to get them going in the right way?
Boy, that's a really crummy thing to say about Jim Miller.
Like,
what is that? Go figure. I don't know. There are a lot of... I wouldn't even really hate the idea of Gaethje. It's just they're not going to make it. And obviously, he would probably take a lot of damage. Because think about how much different Tony Ferguson is because, and I'm pretty sure it's at least a key role in it, what happened in the Gaethje fight.
I know, but
because after that fight, he was not the same.
No, but it was still, like, they're going to say, oh, you don't want Matt Brown, but you'll have him fight Gaethje? Well, yeah. I mean, Gaethje's worth the risk.
I just told you, it's a springboard to a welterweight title shot.
I guess.
I don't think you understand. Anyway.
I would get up for a Nate rematch versus Jim.
At 185?
Yep.
Okay.
I would be like, let's just get wild.
Yeah, of course you would. Maybe in boxing.
No, we're not boxing.
All right, let's move on. I think our Jim Miller silliness has moved into silly ranges, right? Let's get back over to the judging aspect of this.
Yeah, we could do that.
The unanimity report. Only 17 rounds, and for a while we were working on a perfect game.
Mm-hmm.
Lost the perfect game in the third to last fight. 15 out of 17 unanimous rounds overall, though. That's an 88.2% agreement rate. That is really good.
Good start to the year.
Mm-hmm. No 9-8 splits. We're just talking about winners. And I mean, this might be a little bit of a spoiler, but I think we're basically just talking about a couple of close rounds.
Yeah.
Competitive rounds.
Oh, typically that's what we do.
But but these are, I mean, I feel like it just comes down to like one or two either way. But I don't want to suck everything out of it, right? Let's talk about these two contested rounds, starting with our main event. Magomed and Ankalaev getting the win over Johnny Walker. Round 2 TKO by those crazy punches to the face. First round was split. What happened in it?
Right off the bat, Ankalaev lands a right hand, and Walker grabs his face, looks away. Kind of strange reaction there, and then he gets really aggressive, channels his inner Savio Vega, throwing a spinning back heel kick. That's blocked, and he rushes Ankalaev. He's really pressuring him, but he really only lands two strikes in this whole sequence. Two really strong inside leg kicks. Thought they were really hard, really good. Throughout the round, he continues throwing the kicks. A head kick upstairs, it's blocked. Ankalaev is landing his own leg kicks, and he's getting some good reactions. Walker's buckling a bit. There's a good punch towards closer to the second end of the second half of the round that Johnny can't resist but to react, telling the world that it landed and it was a good one. Do what everyone shouldn't do when you get punched.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of the round is leg kicks. I think Ankalaev had better impact based off the reactions I saw after the cup check, which was dead on.
Oh, very
dead on, balls accurate.
That was a bullseye.
And
I liked his reaction too. It was like, what'd you do that for? This is, of course, a few months after, again, he took an illegal knee to the head.
After they come back, Walker lands, a really good leg kick that did get a good reaction on Ankalaev, but I still think it's Ankalaev's round, 10-9.
Yeah, I went the other way. I was kind of agonizing over who I was going to give this round to. I felt very torn. I put my score up as Walker, very close. I, did a refresh on my timeline on Twitter, and I was like, I saw everybody going Ankalaev. I was like, oh, geez. Did I screw up or something? and then obviously it came out after the fight ended that I ended up being in the majority with the judges giving it to Walker, but very, very close. I mean, it's super close. It really just comes down to maybe a strike or two, and I did see it the same way as Derek Cleary, my 2023 Judge of the Year, and Chris Lee.
Mm-hmm.
You had it the same as your 2023 Judge of the Year, Sal D'Amato. Agree to disagree.
Sure.
Sometimes even the best can't agree.
That's true.
Yeah, and even Sal and Derek, sometimes they can't agree. Because we're the best, get it? You and I? Anyway. One more round. This is the one that broke up the perfecto. Mario Bautista got the win over Ricky Simone. Convincing win. 2 30-27s and a 29-28. Round one once again here. What's going on?
This whole fight was really fun.
Yeah, it was.
To begin with. Bantamweight is a tremendous division.
Yeah.
Anyway, this round was the closest, most likely to be a split of this whole fight. Both guys had their moments, bursts of good offense. Bautista landed some good leg kicks, some decent shots upstairs to the head. Had a pretty good jumping knee that Simone ate, but I also think Simone got his guard up rather often to block a lot of these punches coming his way. I think Simone landed some better leg kicks and thought he had some, pretty good punches up to the head. Really thought it was very, very close. I was kind of torn, and then he lands a big left hand as Bautista's kind of jumping in for something. He left his feet, got cracked in the face.
It looked worse than I think it was.
Fell to the mat, gets back up right away. I do think that did swing it in his favor for me. Really good round, really close round. I think you can go either way, but I'm on Simone 10-9.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to. The visual there is really compelling, right? That particular strike. But again, I think you would even agree it was a good land, but maybe not quite as good as it kind of looked just because of him being essentially in the air, right? I thought overall Bautista was getting the better of a lot of these exchanges, and especially with the knees, there was a lot of hard stuff being landed. So, look, I was close to go the other way. I think there's a compelling argument to be made for both men, and it's not one of those just one strike one way or the other. It's almost like how much did you value kind of what they did as maybe that's the same thing, right? But I know what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying it effectively because it's 2 a.m. But yeah, I think Bautista. I feel good about Bautista here, but not disagreeing with you vehemently, my friend.
Well, I scored it for Simone the same way as the outjudge Derek Cleary, and I was
the 2023, my 2023.
Yes, and I was like, come on, Derek. I'd rather be wrong and on an island by myself. Was when we were going for a perfect game.
That's true. Yeah, he should know better.
Yeah,
obviously. he should just know better. The nerve. Well, I saw it the same way as your 2023 Judge of the Year, Sal D'Amato. So we flopped there.
Yeah.
I stayed in the majority there with my guy Chris Lee each time.
You and Chris Lee.
I was way on the Chris Lee train this week.
I hope you guys
were anti Chris Lee this week. What did he do to you?
I hope you give it 10-7 this year. Both of you.
I hope that there's a billion fights that need 10-7s, and that I hope all of them will get their proper medical care thereafter.
Okay, I was gonna say you're really sadistic of you, Scott.
No. I want everyone to get proper medical care, but I just want to see the limits of our sevens here.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe it could be like, how about like a leg kick 10-7?
That would be like the guy's leg is just hanging off.
It's just compartment syndrome. That's not a joke. That's terrible. I shouldn't say that, but not funny. Womp womp. But it's funny. We're talking about the same 3 judges on each of these fights, right? This card in particular, it seemed like it was a smaller and almost more select group of judges than we even typically get. There wasn't, the Jacob Montalvos or Anthony Manus or Chris Flores or any of the kind of the outside judges that they've been bringing in for a while of late. No Chris Liebens, nobody. It was all the let's say high volume judges, Sal D'Amato, Chris Lee, Derek Cleary, Ron McCarthy, Eric Colon, Mike Bell was back
in it,
back in the saddle. Like to see that. Adelaide Bird was there as well. Notably, no Tony Weeks.
No Tony.
I'm not very surprised given all the stuff involving the boxing in the basically ever since we recorded our episode, last episode. So yeah, I don't think it has to do with the 8s and the 9s. I feel like it's just not related to that. Yeah, something else.
Eric Cologne, did you mention him?
I did.
Okay.
I did mention Eric Cologne, yeah. I believe that was, I might have missed someone, but I'm pretty sure that was everybody.
I was going through, you got everybody.
Yeah, that's usually we don't have such a small group, especially of like all the high volume men and women doing it. But for whatever reason, that's what we had this time. Who knows? Maybe it could have been related to the travel too, because obviously the country was blanketed by some snowstorms that affected a bunch of playoff games and things too.
Still had eight judges.
Sure.
So,
maybe that's all it was, but it feels like lately we've been getting more. I'd have to go back and count.
Tan Dan was refereeing.
Tan Dan, sure.
Yeah,
coming straight from Jersey.
4 refs, eight judges.
Mm-hmm. Solid crew though.
All right, yeah.
Solid crew, and obviously the results came in. Everybody was more or less on the same page.
Yeah.
Save for a couple rounds, it's even you and I couldn't agree on.
Mm-hmm.
One day we should go back and see how often we agree.
It's not often that we disagree on 2.
True.
Or on every round.
We got to find out our dissent percent because I wanted to go back for the next year's data show. I want to go back and like look at pairs.
Okay.
See how judges. We should do
How
that
we
for
do
us
it.
too.
Okay.
We got to do it.
All right.
I think that's only fair.
Well, we're 0% right now.
That's true. We're over 2.
Are we only counting?
I'm gonna task. What's that?
We're only counting contested rounds.
Contested rounds. Yeah.
But you're not doing that. Every other judge is getting every round that they score.
That's true. But not every judge is going to be scoring as many rounds together as you and I will.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to task you with tracking that one. That's for you to do in the data show.
All right.
I'm going to take that one off my plate because I got. Oh, this one's going to take a lot. The pairs, it's going to take a lot out of me.
Yeah, you got the. I'll get me and you. You get the rest.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Good.
All right, but that is it for contested rounds. We only had 2. On to the finishes, of which there were 7. 6 by KO or TKO, mostly TKO. 1 submission victory, that being from the man Jim Miller. Face crank, right?
Yeah.
And then 3 of the fights ended in the first round. Which of those fights, and we all are very curious what you're going to say, was your favorite?
Front runner for submission of the year. Jim Miller with the face crank.
It's literally the only candidate for submission of the year in the UFC this year.
The front runner for submission of the year.
Something will have to top that. All right. Hey,
the man squeezed the guy's face and he tapped to pain. For fear of nothing else other than it was just painful.
So on our little outline where we usually like mark down what our favorite finish is so the other doesn't pick the same one.
Mm-hmm.
I weighed 2 different things to do to mess with you before I ended up choosing one. I ended up putting down 2 other fights for you as options, as you know, but I also considered just taking it from you.
It wouldn't have happened. I would just
deleted
deleted it from your thing.
No, that's fair.
But the one you put on me, you put on Marcus McGee getting a finish.
I thought that was a good one. I actually did, yeah.
Over Gaston Bolanos.
Yeah.
And for the reason I thought it was a tremendous stoppage from Mark Smith.
Sure.
I thought he was on the ball there.
Honestly, good stoppages all around. My favorite finish was had a lot to do with the fact that it was a good stoppage from Mark Goddard in the main event. Ankalaev just, like I said, smashed Walker's face.
Mm-hmm.
Picture perfect stoppage. I think no one was arguing there. I think we gave proper due on the broadcast as well to Mark Goddard stopping the fight when he did.
Mm-hmm.
You just like to see a situation where, all right, this not that you want to see him in trouble, but Walker was very much in trouble. And the fight, no one's wondering, oh, was it too early? Was it too late? I think everyone universally watched that and said, you know what? Mark Goddard got it at the exact right time. Walker's not complaining. No one's complaining. We could just appreciate what Ankalaev did.
It's a good thing he stopped because Walker was done. He was like, oh my God, my nose is
He was,
shattered.
yeah. He didn't know what to do.
So he's like...
He was no longer.
Mark Goddard
he wasn't
there,
really defending in terms of the fight anymore. He was pretty much just protecting his face in a way that was like, all right, I'm kind of out of it now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's when you want to see the stoppage come in, and I think Mark Goddard did it. Just a terrific job. No surprise there from my 2023 referee of the year.
Nice.
Just a dream team working out in Vegas on this one. But that's it. That's all we had from the first event. I mean, nice easing into the year, I think, from a judging standpoint. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously from a refereeing standpoint, shout out to the refs. They just did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
You even got the soothing sound of Chris Tognani. I forget which fight he was trying to calm someone down. It's like, it's okay. It's over. Oh, it was Phil Haas.
Oh,
when Phil Haas
okay,
got knocked out. You caught it, the audio of it. He was like, "It's okay, buddy. It's all right." He's got a
Yeah.
very soothing voice.
I don't, I don't think I had the sound on too high
Oh, maybe not.
during that portion.
All right. Well, I mean, you know what Chris Tonioni sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that. Use your imagination. All right, but that is it. Now we got to look ahead to next week. We're back with a pay-per-view main card, UFC 297 in Toronto. Going to be starting at, normal time, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Also, a blessing that ESPN didn't decide to gouge us for more money this year. They kept the pay-per-view price the same.
Let me sidetrack real quick.
Okay, sure.
I don't know if you caught wind of how many people were complaining that the NFL put a wild card game on Peacock this weekend.
I am aware of that, yeah.
I want to point out that if you guys were fight fans, you wouldn't be after 1 week. How much money we spend to watch fights is, and I believe Ariel Helwani actually pointed this out as well.
Ariel was talking about it, yeah.
It's every month there's an $80 pay-per-view. Not to mention the however much money it is a month for ESPN Plus now. It might be up to $10 at this point. And you're complaining about $7 on Peacock, which has some great programming. They got a lot of good stuff on that show. That 70 shows. That's the only place you can watch it.
It's funny. I've actually been watching that 70 show reruns too, and I meant to tell you that because I know that's your show.
It's a great show.
Solid show.
And the new TED out is fantastic. I was very much down on it because I didn't understand the premise of it.
How much is NBC Universal paying you to plug the Peacock Network?
But The Office is on it, and that's universally loved.
I have no affection for The Office.
This is a weird stance people are making about an NFL game.
Well, I would just point out that too that I being a fan of an out of region team, I buy the Sunday tickets so that I keep up with my god awful Carolina Panthers, and I regretted doing all that. But I split it this year, so it saved me a little bit of money. Nonetheless, if I was to pay for it myself, I believe the cost is $450, which if you split over 12 months is $37.50. When you split all of the 14 pay-per-views up from last year over 12 months, it's like $93 or $95 a month, basically, to be a UFC fan, and that does not include your ESPN Plus subscription.
Yeah, because there's what did you say? There 13 or 14?
There were 14 last year.
Yeah. So
because
yeah, it's
they
pretty high.
couldn't even just do 12. It's like, no, we got to get a couple of months where we're going to charge you twice.
And then they bang
if you're
going to
be a diehard fan.
Then they bang you 100 for Fight Pass if you want that.
Oh yeah, that too. That is true.
It is.
Yeah. So yeah, no, NFL fans are spoiled as heck. I will give you that.
So
having said that, it's for literally one football game.
So cancel it. But
it's just silly.
Peacock is a solid streaming service.
I have access to basically every streaming service except for Apple.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care about.
Well, you're an Android guy.
I am an Android guy. That's exactly true. Yeah, Google Nation, I guess. That is. But anyway, back to UFC 297. Let's talk about fights here. 2 title fights. I don't know how prestigious these title fights are in the minds of the fans. I mean, one of them is the 85 title, of course. And Sean Strickland won it fair and square from the rightful lineal middleweight champion in Israel Adesanya, going against Dricus du Plessis, who more or less was kind of supposed to be the guy who would have fought Adesanya last September, and then he wasn't ready. His foot wasn't ready. Strickland steps in. And now we've got this fight that's more or less built on the brawl that happened at the last pay-per-view.
Yeah, WWE style promo.
Yeah. Are you interested in this fight? Do you like this fight? Because
I do.
Number one, it's middleweight, which doesn't always. It's not always the most entertaining of divisions.
Yeah, this one has a story though, so it's more interesting.
Not only that though, Dricus du Plessis at the very least is a finisher.
Yep.
He's only been to the cards once, and he's pretty entertaining. He typically is.
I like it.
Yeah.
If I have to pick someone, I think he's gonna win.
You think du Plessis will win?
I think du Plessis will win. If
I did get the chance to speak to Dricus the other day.
Okay.
So you should check out my interview for that one. But yeah, he kind of took me through the whole the development of the brawl and how it happened and all that kind of thing. It was interesting. Get his mindset about everything.
Yeah, I just think the way he beat Robert Whittaker was really.
It was pretty impressive.
Pretty
absolutely,
impressive, so.
Super impressive. That no one does that to Robert Whittaker. I mean, we saw Adesanya do that, but Adesanya's. I mean, he is absolutely not even close to being the middleweight GOAT. He just isn't. But he's almost definitely the second most accomplished middleweight in mixed martial arts history.
Yeah, I don't even know how I'd be able to fill a middleweight Mount Rushmore.
All right, well, let's do it real quick. So it's those two. I think you could probably put Robert Whitaker in there.
Yeah. Would you put Rich Franklin? Or Evan Tanner?
I don't think, no, not Evan Tanner. I don't think I would put Rich Franklin. Rich Franklin's close, but I don't think so. I'm almost,
Henderson?
yeah, you know what? I'm closer to putting in Henderson. I think I would actually
Yeah.
put Henderson in. I don't care that he didn't win the UFC title. He was easily the number 2 middleweight for many years. Won it in Pride. Oh, technically it was the welterweight belt. You know, it's just they had different names for it, right? It was essentially the 83 to 85 pound title. So that was him.
I mean, you guys can't put Eblin there yet.
No, not even
Yeah,
close.
so
No. I'm not saying he'll never get there, but he's not there.
Not there yet.
I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but you got to at least consider Gegard.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he'd be
Yeah.
there. I couldn't put him in over Dan Henderson because I think the body of work at a higher level I think was more impressive from Henderson.
Yeah, 185's kind of hard.
It is hard, but I mean it's all subjective, of course. The other title fight, Raquel Pennington against Mayra Bueno Silva to fill the vacant bantamweight title after Amanda Nunes walked off into the sunset.
I thought this division was going away. I guess
You thought
it's not.
35 was going away?
Yeah,
Really?
I did. I thought 45 and 35 were just done.
No, I don't think anyone was talking about getting rid of 35.
Maybe
I think you just made that up.
I think I did.
Yeah.
But no, I honestly thought
It is
I
a
was
much
like,
smaller
oh,
division than I think people realize, though. There's just not that many women in it.
Yeah. Like in a perfect world, you just go 105, 115, 125, and then I guess 130.
And then 135 plus. That'd be like the heavyweight.
Yeah,
So,
just
like,
make it
It's like the old Pride heavyweight division, because heavyweight and Pride was literally, okay, you're over 205, so you're heavyweight.
Yeah, we should do
That's
that.
why we had Zuluzinho and Hong Man Choi and all those guys.
Yeah, 135 plus.
Mm-hmm.
That's the weight class.
Okay.
I think.
Well, that's not what it's going to be. We
I
got a
know,
35
yeah,
here. So
yeah.
it's these two women. They're going to decide they got to make the under 35 pound weight,
Mm-hmm.
or they don't get to fight for the title. I do like I do like this fight is in terms of I think Bueno Silva should be in the fight, and Pennington has a large body of work.
Mm-hmm.
But I do look at this situation and I say, we really left out Juliana Pena. We really did that. Like, why are we doing it? It's like when they left out Cyborg from the, maybe to a much lesser degree, I suppose, but when they left out Cyborg from the initial featherweight title fight in the UFC, it was like, what were you doing?
Did she upset somebody?
I don't know. Probably. Probably. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But I'm intrigued. I want to see. I've had my my eye on Bueno Silva the last few fights. She's looked very good. I think it was her last win over Holly Holm did get overturned. There was a positive test for I think it was like ADD medication.
Blah blah blah.
I think it was one of those deals where she didn't fill out the paperwork like she was supposed to. Which, hey, fill out the paperwork like you're supposed to. But also,
yeah,
I don't think anyone looked at that. Yeah, I don't think anybody looked at that fight and said, or looked at the situation and says, well, obviously she was doping, so she doesn't deserve that win. I think we can be logical about this. Good win. Probably didn't win because she, was trying to focus that day.
That's a win.
Yeah. Or I think she even did discontinue the medication. I think she just didn't do everything right and it's still in her system or something like that.
You know what, though? The one when I do agree with that was overturned.
Which one?
Was, I want to get the name right.
Okay.
So I'm just quick Googling it right
Sure.
quick.
Do your thing. We can stall for time. I can sing the Star Spangled Banner or something like that. Oh, we'll see.
Okay, Pat Healy's win over Jim Miller
Oh, yes.
for
Here we go.
marijuana.
Yes.
I mean, come on. What are you doing smoking marijuana in a fight camp?
I know. The nerve of him.
Deservedly to be overturned.
I mean, for goodness sake, there's no way you would catch like a Nate Diaz doing that.
Never.
Or a Nick Diaz.
Not the same kind of weed.
Certainly not.
Not the performance enhancing type.
As we know, Nick Diaz and marijuana have absolutely no history of negative drug interactions when involved with commissions. It's never happened. This is, like I said, it's in Toronto. We're going to have, being in Ontario, the commission up there, they'll bring in, historically a couple of the top traveling judges from this side of the border. They've also got some judges up there that they utilize, and by all accounts, it seems like they have a pretty solid local set that they use up there as well. I don't know if it's going to be the same ones. It's been several years since the UFC has been to Ontario, so I'm not really sure how many of them are all still working up there.
Where is Ontario one of the western
No.
Canadian?
No,
you're
Ontario's
upset with, or no?
Ontario's what? No. Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No, we're not talking about Edmonton and Winnipeg here.
Okay.
Those are like their own like city commissions. Ontario is a province.
Okay.
And it's the one that's right here on the East Coast.
Okay.
Where Toronto is.
All right.
Yeah. It's like close by.
Yeah, I don't know my Canadian geography.
It's easy to get there. You've been to Buffalo?
I've been to Buffalo.
Go 15 minutes north and you're in Canada and you're in Ontario.
I know. You know what? When I was in Buffalo, I was looking because the Blue Jays were in the playoffs. I was like, I might go to a Blue Jay playoff game. And then I realized it's 2.5 hours to Toronto.
Which isn't that bad. And actually, I think it's farther.
Yeah, it's... No.
Okay, fair enough.
I thought it was like 10 minutes.
No, that's very inaccurate.
Well,
you should get a map.
That's what I have.
I'm gonna point you. I was gonna say I'm gonna point you to a website, mapquest.com.
Does that
It's
even
very
exist
useful.
still?
I think it does.
Wild. I guess some, boomers need to print their directions.
Funny enough, before we had smartphones that everyone was using and everyone had like the GPS in their phone all the time. When I met my wife, now my wife anyway, I gave her my address and she had to print out directions and brought them with her, and like she ended up not in the exact right place at one point. It was like, what's going on? It was like one of those hard things that like just doesn't happen anymore. Unless you're in like the boonies, right? Different parts of the country, of course, have different levels of service. We in New York, New Jersey area, we have a high concentration of service, typically. But other fights on this card that we want to see, I'm looking forward to, especially Arnold Allen and Movsar Evloev.
Can be a good one.
I like that one. 145. That's a big fight there. Charles Jourdain and Sean Woodson. That'll be a fun striking affair, I think.
Yep.
I like anytime Sean Woodson's in there with someone who wants to strike with him. You highlighted this one.
Neil Magny and Mike Malott. Mike Malott, 10 fights, 10 finishes.
I like Mike Malott.
Well, 10 wins, 10 finishes. He's got a loss in a draw.
I'm not sure what kind of fight we can expect with Neil Magny. Neil Magny's been kind of a mixed bag lately.
We'll see.
He's not always looked great, and then there was the fight he won last year against Phil Rowe, which was like one of the most boring fights of the year. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that was a bad fight.
That was a really bad fight. So yeah, I was almost gonna put that fight because of Malott, and then I was like, gee, I don't know. Magny hasn't looked great.
The thing is, the only time he's been to decision, it was a draw,
Mm-hmm.
and that was at 145 years ago.
Sure.
So I mean, I think maybe see what he can do this is definitely a step up.
And he's gonna be fighting in front of his fellow Canadians.
He is.
Proper like. I also have a contested round candidate. And usually I don't go for this weight class, but I went with
I hope you're wrong.
the middleweight division, Chris Curtis and Marc-Andre Barriault.
Yep, I hope you're wrong on that one.
I mean, I hope I'm always wrong.
Yeah, but you just don't need the Eric Nixick,
Oh.
bagging on the judges after a Chris Curtis split decision or loss.
Well, what if it's a split decision win?
Well, probably wonder why it wasn't unanimous.
I don't know. I have no idea.
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Hey!
All right, we're back again to break down UFC 297 on Monday next week. Let's go for perfect, guys.
Definitely perfection. It's got to be perfection. But since it won't be perfection, just do your best out there. That's what I tell my kids.
Thanks for listening.
Take care, everyone.